Hey, what's up guys? Vic back here again with Strikers Reptiles. Today we're going to do a video that was promised in one of our earlier Savannah Monitor videos. That's gaining the trust of our Savannah Monitor. Now, quick disclaimer, if you just got a Savannah Monitor, it's not time to begin trust gaining yet. This is more for people who have Savannah Monitors that are testy, maybe you've had them a while, and you're looking to get them a little more handleable. So let's get into it.
Alright guys, so here's our Savannah Monitor, Jane. As you can see, she came right up to the front of the enclosure as soon as we opened it. She's very curious and also very food motivated. But anyway, when we first got her, her behavior was nothing like this. As a matter of fact, when we'd come in the room, she would actually pretend to be asleep. The only way to feed her was to toss some crickets or mealworms in the cage and leave the room. I didn't even realize she was eating until I just noticed that, I'd come back and most of the crickets or most of the mealworms would be gone. So when you first get a Savannah Monitor, there is no forcing, the bonding process. Pretty much throughout this whole process, everything's been on her terms. Forced handling or, trying to get your monitor used to you before it's even used to its new environment is not going to work. These are, at the end of the day, still wild animals. Most of them are imports. So, it all has to be slow, has to be on their terms. For the first couple months, she actually didn't even leave her cage. We pretty much left her in there, just wanted her to get used to her territory. And now she's so comfortable, sometimes when I open the cage to feed her, she'll actually come jumping out of it, if she knows she's getting something good. But what we like to start with, what we did first for bonding with her, is we would simply take a sock or a shirt that we had worn and place it in her cage. Now what that's going to do is just get her used to the smell of us. She would walk up to that sock or shirt, she would sniff it, flick her tongue at it, check it out, and sort of just come to realize that that smell is not a harmful one. Now our next step, after we had done that for 3, 4, 5 weeks, and she was seeming pretty cool with it, we would actually put our hand in the cage. Not put our hand on her. At this point, if you were to touch her, like I am right now, she would start puffing up and hissing, whipping her tail. So we would just put our hand in the cage, just say set it on her basking spot when she's not on it. Now she would come up to it, flick her tongue, but she wanted essentially nothing to do with us. She was just checking out what was in, her new established territory and making sure that it wasn't there to harm her, but she was not friendly by any stretch of the imagination. Alright guys, now bear with me, I'm recording with one hand, but the next thing we like to do once our Savannah Monitor is nice and used to our presence is feed her off tongs. So I've got a discard roach right here that I'm going to give to her, and she is happy to take that right off the tongs. Yep, there she goes. And now what this is establishing is that human presence, my presence in particular, means her favorite thing, which is food. These are food-oriented animals. So once we're able to get her to eat off tongs, the whole process is going to start to pick up from there. Once we're able to get her to eat from tongs, we're actually able to, sort of occupy her most defensive weapon, which is her mouth. When her mouth is full in front of you, she's not able to bite you. And she knows this. These are intelligent animals. So their willingness to eat while your hands are in their enclosure is a sign that you're gaining their trust. Here's a little side note, guys, before I forget. If your Savannah Monitor bites you when you first have it and you're first getting it used to handling, you're going to want to let it bite you. Sounds crazy, but you want to take the bites while they're small. Our girl here is a 21-inch, just short of a pound Savannah Monitor. More than capable of breaking the skin. Now, lucky for us, when we first got her, she wasn't too big on biting. She was more of a tail whipper. But if your Savannah Monitor is keen on biting you and it's feeling defensive, it's important you take it basically now more than later. Let them learn that your hand isn't food and that biting your hand isn't going to get too much done. Now obviously that doesn't mean encourage them to bite you or goad them into biting you. But if they want to bite you, it's better they do it young than when they're big and able to take a big chunk of your finger off. That being said, if you're bitten by your Savannah Monitor, you do need to show it that biting does not get you to go away. Obviously, this is not a dog. You can't punish it into, believing that you're in charge. But you can show it that biting does not gain the result it's looking for. Biting doesn't make you go away. Biting doesn't make food come faster. Alright, so once you've got your Savannah Monitor comfortably eating off the tongs, you might try something like seeing if it'll crawl along your arm to get to food. Now this is learning that, even more so, you mean food. So let's see if she'll come right over. Yep. To her, I'm just another branch. Here you go. Good girl. The claws do hurt. Keep that in mind. It's long sleeves are advised. Now guys, if you've gotten to this point with your Savannah Monitor, they're probably pretty trustworthy at that point. Coming to the end of their enclosure, associating you with food and just overall not being too bothered by your presence. Hopefully at this point you haven't taken them out of their cage too much, because you do want them to be in the most comfortable environment possible, which is their cage at this point. So now at this point, after we were able to get her to basically completely ignore me while eating, we started to get her used to being pet and handled when there was no food involved. So this area of their body that Savannah Monitors least like being touched is their head. So what we did is we just started by petting her back. When we first started, that resulted in quite a few tail whips, quite a bit of hissing, and basically her not being too happy about it. But we rewarded good sessions when she would be reasonable and allow us to handle her and pet her by feeding her. Made it easy to draw that comparison once again. Just putting her back before she comes jumping out of her cage. She's always looking for food. Once we got her to the point that we could pet her back, we just worked our way up. Started petting her neck. Once we could pet her neck, we started petting her head. And sure enough, she tolerated it. Now, keep in mind, this animal is not a dog. This animal is never going to yearn for your affection. That's just not how reptiles are. However, she has learned that, when she is tolerant of me petting her, tolerant of me handling her, and cooperative, she receives what she wants most, which is once again food. Guys, before our conclusion, I do want to state that, we use the word trust gaining, or the term trust gaining, over taming, because this is a wild animal. Most of them come from the wild, and the truth is they can't ever be fully tamed. They'll never be like your dog, your cat. But by teaching them to associate you with positive things, you can gain their trust and have a more enriching relationship with your Savannah Monitor.
Alright guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to blow up that comment box. Please leave us a like, a subscription. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. Have a great day.